Welcome to Below the Headline.
The political podcast that looks past the noise.
I'm your host Alicia, and today I'm joined by Benny, Adam, Luca and Samson. So today we're going to be talking about voting in the UK. So Benny, I believe that you've got quite some opinions on this topic, so would you like to start us off?
Where do I start? I mean, I suppose the natural place is obviously the House of Lords. In the 21st century, there's no place for an aristocratic, not anymore, but essentially aristocratic system totally based on whoever's in power giving people peerages. I think it's totally unfair. I'd love to hear some opinions from everyone else, though. Does anyone have anything to say?
I just wondered if you could briefly explain why you think it is unfair and tell us more about your argument first.
Well, I mean, you have an upper house that is totally made up of people who've been given their peerages. Either, I think they've just removed lifetime peerages, but they've been given their peerages by governments, which is like the Supreme Court system in the US. It's giving too much power to whoever's in power now, and it's always for favours, obviously.
But Benny, do you not believe that the Lords can delay and revise laws, but elected MPs ultimately have the final power?
While that is true, I still feel that it weakens our democratic system as a whole.
But if the democratic system of the House of Commons does have overall power and authority over the House of Lords, how is the House of Lords
I mean,
bad?
obviously the best thing about the Lords is that it can be totally bypassed. Essentially all it can do is make the Commons vote twice. But if it were a democratic system, lots of people, as you know too well, Alicia, are growing disillusioned with our democratic system. If you were to make it more democratic, then you would increase how many people want to engage and want to so-and-so with our democratic system.
But do you not believe that it's important to challenge legislation?
It is definitely important to challenge legislation. This is why you need an alternative rather than just totally scrapping.
And what would your alternative proposal be?
Oh, Alicia, I have so many alternative proposals.
Go ahead, Benny. We'd love to hear it.
Okay. But someone else has got to talk as well.
No, Benny,
we're
go
asking
ahead.
you, Benny, before we...
I know, all I have to say is a question for you, Benny.
Okay, so the United States has two houses, obviously. They have the Senate and...
House of Representatives.
The House of Representatives and the Congress. The US has two houses, but both of them are equally democratic. This means that too often you have the president circumventing both houses with the presidential veto, the executive orders, which
Yep.
we've seen Trump using loads of. So when both houses are equally democratic, you often get deadlock. This is why the House of Lords this is one of the good things about the House of Lords, is that the Commons can say, we're the democratic house, we are the will of the people, so move aside, or, you know.
So your alternative is turning to the US system?
Well, what I'm saying is the US system has loads of flaws, so the best thing would be to do a semi-democratic house that can accurately review these documents. So my idea, it's not a great idea, and I haven't thought it through for a very long time, but you'd have something like 25% would be proportional representation. So 25% of the House would be proportional representation. Then the rest of it would be made up of experts, that's inverted commas, from all over the country. So people like union bosses, people who are on benefits, people who work at businesses, people who work at small businesses, people who work in the shipping industry. Just literally a, how do you say?
Mix of people.
A cross-section, like a slice of the entire country. And you'd have them all in here representing their own interests. And I mean, it's not a perfect system, but I think it'd be better than the House of Lords. And obviously, you know, there's room for experimentation. I'm sure Samson's about to grill me on this. But I think it'd be really cool. And I think it'd be better than the House of Lords because you can have people seriously reviewing. I mean, it's the House of Review. That's its point. And these aristocrats who've been given their jobs as favours from the current government, how are they supposed to accurately review any document?
But Benny, do you not believe that it already is slightly balanced because it has members who are genuine experts, and it has experienced politicians, political appointees, and some independent specialists.
Balanced among the kind of one-night stands and aristocracy of our house, of our country. Sorry, look at Boris Johnson's. What was she called? Right when he left, he gave her a peerage, and it's just like, come on. She's just obviously, you're trying to keep her quiet about something. It's not a fair system for deciding who should review our legislature, I think. Does anyone else have anything to say about this?
Thank you, Benny, for your incredibly expensive sounding reform to the House of Lords. House of Lords reform has been an issue for almost a century now. It was actually in the early 1910s when they first reformed the House of Lords, and it was one of the things that Tony Blair got elected on. He said he would make the House of Lords a democratic institution, and yet here we are today, still debating it. There's a reason why nothing really has been done, bar, obviously, banning life peerages, and it's because the House of Lords in itself, it does do its job to a suitable degree, okay? So this whole optimistic, idealistic idea of 75% being experts, whatever that means, the House of Lords already has experts. It's got diplomats, economists, people who know what the issues are, and also people who can ably represent a proportion of the population who perhaps don't feel represented by first past the post. I know that's something that wants to be discussed later. By having 25% be proportional, would you therefore not propose that the House of Commons becomes proportional as well? That's another point to lead on to. What else did I have to say? Yeah, this whole argument you have about aristocracy, it feels very heartfelt, and it also feels slightly nullified by the fact that these peerages aren't passed on from generation to generation anymore. Once they die, it's not passed on. And as such, the only way people end up in the House of Lords if they're not a member of the clergy is they're appointed in the honours at the end of the premiership. So therefore, what I'm basically saying is, are your reforms not a bit pointless, and is that not the very reason nothing's been done to the House of Lords in the past 20 or so years?
When I say aristocracy, well, I mean these people are essentially the refuse of the... Sorry. These people are the refuse of our political system. I mean, I would be hard-pressed to name a single member of the House of Lords who was not previously a civil servant or some friend of a politician. Are you searching that up?
The Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh, yeah, apart from those guys. But they represent a fraction of the country, and I think it'd be much, much better, at least... Like I was saying with the slice of the country thing, you could also have academics, you could have economists, you could have people who are seriously in touch with these issues and have studied them. Obviously that wouldn't be everything, because I don't believe in a kind of insane intelligentsia.
Sorry.
But they're not an aristocracy.
Okay, what do I mean by that? I mean these people have privilege. They don't... In the House of Lords, you are paid, 40,000? Something.
Well, no, it's based on when you go, isn't it?
Yeah, well, no. But you're paid to sit on your arse and you decide on, you review what our nation does, and it just doesn't feel
but you
fair.
do realise your new system will do that exactly the same thing.
It will do that same thing, but with people who have genuinely experienced these things. They've not been locked in Whitehall.
So how are you going to choose these people? Are you just going to go and get
therein
someone on benefits and pull them out of the house?
Therein lies the rub. I was thinking, because obviously you don't want to make it democratic, because you don't want it to be...
Hang on, I thought your whole point was that you wanted to be democratic because of the aristocracy.
The whole point is that it's more democratic, but the Commons can still say, we are the voice of the people.
So what's the point in having the Lords all together in your argument then?
They're the House of Review. They review what the Commons does and they pass final judgment.
And you think that somebody, say, on benefits would be able to review them
Not
not
necessarily.
You just mean that it's going to represent people in different lights in the world. Yeah, but even so, Benny, I don't think that they would be educated enough. I mean, say, no offence to them at all, but if somebody's on benefits, then they have not got a particularly good job. and
Well,
that's
just-
why they have
But
resorted
they don't have
to
a
that.
job at all usually.
Well,
No.
we live in an internet age when everyone can pass their judgment on any policy that
Yes, and that doesn't mean that it's
on
correct.
on any policy that the government makes. And the Lords and the Commons do not reflect that whatsoever. I think these people should be given a serious voice in the institution so that we can truly represent the nation as a whole.
Yeah,
I
so we
don't
could
see
just
what
do
the
that
problem
through
with that is.
proportional representation, not through the House of Lords.
Well,
Benedict.
proportional representation is a whole different issue, but local representation, I mean, this is skipping ahead a bit. Local representation, I think, is good, generally.
Yeah, but as Lucas said, I mean, how would you choose these people?
Yeah, so that's an issue. I would say you'd have to do, it's hard, you'd have to do a certain threshold over
Sounds
which,
expensive.
The point is you
a
don't
certain
know.
threshold over which individual parties could choose representatives.
I agree. It sounds far too expensive, and I don't think that there'd be much benefit from it, Benny.
I don't, so basically what you're doing is you're not changing the House of Lords whatsoever, except you're bringing in more unelected people in, but from different walks of life instead.
But it's
So-
okay because we've got 25% who are elected, and they're really going to be much use
Okay, so
when
do-
they're outnumbered 75% anyway.
Do you want a democratic House of Lords?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So this is...
No. The reason why the House of Lords is so good is because it's not democratic. So
Well,
you're
yeah,
not getting
exactly,
absolute
that's what I'm
tools
saying.
getting
So-
elected who are in on short-termism.
Yeah, but Luca's criticising it, whatever.
The point is that these people aren't elected, so they're not just thinking about what's going to get me in next term in 4 or 5
Yeah, exactly.
years.
So I'm saying that these people are the perfect
So-
mix of democratic and undemocratic.
So what's the point in the 25%? What are they actually going to do?
25% is so you can have a nod to proportional.
I think Benedict.
without
I
actually
think
doing
Benedict,
it.
you just like this idea because it's sort of against the aristocracy
Yeah.
and against the monarchy, and
That-
that's why you're pushing this idea. When
Against the
actually it will be a
monarchy?
waste of time and useless.
A waste of time. Okay, well, you can think that, but I think that
Well, name
if
me
you
one.
look- if you look-
Name me one benefit of this system.
one benefit of this system is that you're institutionalizing a voice that people actually have online, and you're giving them a way to speak to the actual government rather than just speaking into their phones after the policy's already been passed.
They can do that through the House of Commons.
MPs or yeah.
Do that through the House of Commons once every
So-
5 years. I mean, look, almost every decision.
So wait. So when are you saying these elections would be held every 1 year?
Well, no, I'm saying these would be every probably. You want to slow it down a bit. I prefer slower. It'd probably be every 7.
So you just said the point is
Well,
about
no, no, no,
MPs.
no, no. What I'm saying
You
is
just
that
said the point about
Commons-
MPs. Just said the point about MPs is but they get elected every 5 years, and now you're saying no, actually we should make it 7 years.
Oh
for
no,
House
no!
of
I'm saying the Commons is a political class. Okay, the Commons. I hate to say I'm not a Marxist, but the Commons are fundamentally people whose their job is that they vote and they make legislation, and that's a good thing. I think that you should have people whose entire existence is defined by voting and writing these bills. But you also need people who are actually in touch with the actual world, who can say, well, this is going to mean that I can't make rent next week, or this is going to seriously damage my company's profit margins, whatever. But it's a way, like I said, to institutionalize a voice that actually exists. Real world.
Well, this whole idea of real world things, what's the point in having experts, as you call them? What's the point in having economists, people from big businesses? Are they in touch with the real world, as you call it? Or is your sort of anti-elitist view going to make us have a House of Lords that aren't lords at all? They're all people who are on benefits.
Very
Because you want this whole issue you have is that the lords are out of touch. Which, to a degree, I can see, yes, they are a little bit out of touch. I mean, I'm not going to intertwine my own views on this issue, but one only has to look towards the whole assisted dying thing and how the
Assisted
lords
suicide.
how the lords are stalling it. And generally speaking, I'd say the majority, I think they did polls on it, and most polls say that the British population are for assisted suicide. And yet the lords are stalling it. In that way, they could be called out of touch. But if that's the problem, why do you still want to have experts in this 75% unelected body? Why do you still want to have economists who could equally be argued as being out of touch? Because most economists are only serving their own neoliberal agenda.
That is a good point. Academics, you could argue, are out of touch, but it's a house of review, fundamentally.
Is that what you'd rename it, by the way, if they're not lords anymore?
Well, it's already the house of, it's the upper house, the house.
I think to add what Samson was saying before, how it delays decisions, as he said, with use the example of the assisted suicide. I think the Commons is a little bit a hindrance in both time and money. I mean, if we look at how many there are in the Commons, about, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 750 individuals, and you're lucky to get 500 attending on a day. There are many which don't rock up, but they're still being paid or being given.
No, they're
can
not.
I call
You
that
get
out? They're
paid
not
for
being
going in.
paid. They're not being paid for not
No?
going.
You get paid £370 if you attend, and that's per day. Or you can get paid £170 and your travel fees get paid for.
Can I just raise a point on their salaries? Everyone says, oh, they get paid so much. Actually,
On
it's not
average,
that,
it's
there's
about
not that
30
yeah,
grand a
it's
year.
not that much. It's probably about 30, 40 grand a year overall.
Though, let it be said that they do
They
all
get
have
expenses, yes. but
mass
Yeah.
expenses coming in from elsewhere.
I'm sure there'll be a good few tax write-offs written in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some
Wine
nice
designed by
glasses,
lobbyists.
you know.
Okay, should we move on to voting then?
Ready.
Okay, so I've got a question for Luca.
Oh, goodness me.
So, is stability more important than proportional representation, or should fairness be the priority?
Now, fairness should be the priority if we're in a democracy, in my opinion.
But do you not agree that first past the post ensures stability in a country so that large parties can govern? And if we were to propose
But
proportional
Can I just ask,
representation,
why would we want large parties to govern?
We don't want
When-
coalition. Remember what happened last time
Why
with the
would-
coalition?
Why do we want large parties to govern if that's not the will of the people?
Now you're saying the will
So-
of the people. No, it's
Yeah, but I'm
talking
saying
about
it in a
our
way that's true. If we have a voting system that just ensures the same two parties get in, and it's not really proportional, then I don't think that's fair in a democracy.
so what would proportional representation actually look like? Because I believe it's done in, say, Germany, Sweden.
Yeah, it is done in Germany, and one only has to look at their political state to see how wonderfully it's working out.
I don't think proportional representation. I think
Yeah, because
I admire
you've
the
got this
sentiment.
big thing in your mind where coalitions are wonderful, and
No,
you
I
love
don't
them.
like-
Only 'cause he's
I
lived
don't
there.
like proportional representation. I think I really like local representation. I like the idea of you having.
Yeah, but then
Yeah, I
the
like-
smaller parties don't get in.
Well,
they don't
there's
have a
ways
say.
to let smaller parties get in without
It
necessarily
actually
jumping to PR.
de-incentivizes people from voting because they feel as though their votes do not matter.
I mean, you can do alternative voting.
I mean, what
do
60 to
voting
70% of people in the UK vote, and so how is it fair that these people are lacking out because they're not being represented?
But I mean, if your vote just goes towards, I don't know, Suella in
No, no,
London,
but the
rather
thing is,
than the person.
It could be 40% of the votes, but if it's under first past the post, then they still won't have the amount of seats that they need.
I think we're talking about two fundamentally different things here. I'm saying that I think the benefits of first past the post, that being that you have a local representative who represents supposedly your interests, unless you're, Nigel, who represents your interests, is better than just voting for a party. Feel free to.
Well, yeah, but this is true. But if we have the first past the post system, people just vote in the party anyway. They don't really look at the name on the paper, do they?
Oh no, I actually disagree with that. In my constituency, they didn't look at the party; they looked at the name on the paper. And now we've got someone who cares more about what's happening in Palestine than what's happening in Blackburn. One only has to look at a main road in Blackburn to see how well that's working out. It's a shithole.
My friend's constituency was Tugendhat, the Conservative.
Tom Tugendhat's a good man.
Yeah, exactly. So he managed to survive last time just because he was a good person, even though his party is, absolutely horrendous.
That's a good point.
I mean, he's fairly good, obviously.
So some of you are for proportional representation and some of you aren't, but what about mixed member proportion? So this is when you
What
have
about
two
ranked
votes.
voting?
I
I
like
just-
ranked alternative voting is one of the best systems that I've heard of.
Yeah,
It's
this
really,
is- this
really
is-
cool.
Let's talk through it.
Look, I'm by no means for first past the post, but I'm also not for proportional representation. Both systems are flawed, and whereas on the one hand you've got super majorities like Labour had, even though they actually received less votes shared than they did with Corbyn in 2017. On the other hand, you've got unstable coalitions, you've got drama, you've got just look at Germany, for example, where because the whole traffic light coalition collapsed, they had to call a snap election, and it led to the whole system being flipped on its head. And one of the parties, the liberal, the Free Democratic Party, the FDP, something like that, they lost all their seats because of how the voting system works there. Where
So
if you don't get 10% of the vote seats.
What do you propose, Samson?
a middle ground, something along the lines of alternative voting, ranked system.
Can you just
you
quickly
say-
explain
yes.
what alternative voting is?
So it's
Alternative
when you have two votes. So you vote for a local
One for
MP and you
constituency and then
Yeah,
and then
So-
you vote
yeah.
for a political
Yeah.
party. So this was what I was trying to get on before. So would this system not work a lot better, because then you would have an overall party and you'd also be represented with the amount of votes that you have in a country?
What would that both be in the Commons, or would you have
No,
the
so
two
essentially what it is you give your vote for your local MP and then your vote for the party that you want in. And then based on which part, the proportions of the party is which MPs get which seats, essentially.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Wow,
and
that
Germany
would
and
be-
New
that would be
Zealand
good.
do this as well. So it's not as though it's an unknown thing.
The only problem that could still lead to smaller parties being pushed out. So a system that we were talking about earlier, alternative voting, which would rectify that. Alternative voting is essentially you have brackets. So you'd say my first choice is the Yorkshire Socialist Party. My second choice
British
is
National Front.
yeah, the Conservative and Union Party. And my third choice is the National Front. And then, so if the Yorkshire Socialists, so you put them as your first choice, they're a small party. If they weren't to win, then your vote would be transferred over to the second party. And then if they didn't win, it would be transferred over to the third party and then the fourth party. So eventually, you're just voting. Yeah.
So basically, you have multiple votes. So that's a bit.
You're still kind of
strange.
ending up with.
The problem.
The issue with that is that the British populace are notoriously ignorant when it comes to voting, and I doubt very many people will make full use of this system.
Imagine the
They-
number of spoiled ballot papers.
But I imagine, so yeah, the problem with the system in like a perfect world where everyone's
the
everyone knows
world's not
exactly what they're
perfect, so
voting.
I hate when people do this in a perfect world,
Well,
in this situation.
What
It's
I'm
just-
saying is that it leads mathematically to a squeeze in the middle, where so smaller parties benefit a lot, and bigger parties are about the same, but parties in the middle generally do a lot worse.
Oh, like the Lib Dems.
because
So what?
So
they're
surprise,
smaller.
surprise.
They're smaller. Shut
What did you say this was called?
It's alternative. voting.
Alternative.
I think it's single transferable vote,
There's
Well,
multiple
it's
names
just
for it.
something
which
called the
which is
alternative
which is
vote.
done in Northern Ireland and Scotland.
No, I
Local
think
elections.
it's a slightly different system than what
Do you
I'm
think?
talking about. Yeah.
It's something to do with what Wales are doing at the one that's coming up now. Wales changed their election system, and I'm fairly sure they're doing this alternative sort of system.
Well, we'll see how that goes, won't we?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's basically
I-
guaranteed that there's going to be some form of coalition in Wales,
Yeah.
which,
That's just
if in case I haven't made it clear enough, coalitions are not a good thing in democracy. They just waste everyone's time.
Thinking if you want to get rid of the House of Lords,
Yeah.
what do you actually think of the monarchy?
I think the monarchy generally is a force for good. They're a projection of soft power, and they're a stabilizing force. I think we should give them a lot less money, and I think
Really?
we tax.
What do you mean we should give them?
I
less
think
money?
that obviously they have private holdings which we should tax, but then
But we
also
already do
we should give. I mean, the state should fund them a lot less.
Okay, Adam, what do you think of the monarchy?
the monarchy. I think it's, as Benny said, a force for good. However, with the current use of the monarchy at the moment, I just think it's a bit pointless. But
Really, with the amount of money that it brings in?
what does it bring money in through?
I mean, I think it's
Tourism.
Tourism, everyone
Tourism.
comes to see the monarchy.
Well, we can still have the
Big
palaces,
brother
all the nice stuff. but-
tourism is one of them, but is it not the tax on the estates that brings in quite a bit?
Don't tax them.
Yeah.
They totally untax the
I'm
states.
pretty
The
sure.
crown lands.
Hang on,
we
let me look
don't
this up.
tax them whatsoever.
The tax that they pay is voluntary, so they do pay tax. They don't have to.
So they give some of our money back after we give them.
You're saying it like it's
The
as if we
state's
get rid of the monarchy overnight. I'm gonna wake up and have an extra 10 grand
I-
in my bank account. It's
Like
not
I
happening,
said,
mate.
I don't think we should get rid of the monarchy. I think we should sell a few of the palaces because surely they don't need
And
all of
who's
them.
gonna take them?
We can give them to some Saudi billionaires who want to live
Oh
like
my
royalty.
Yeah, right.
goodness
in the
gracious
UK.
me!
As long as we
No. Anyway, Adam,
my
you were the one saying let's scrap the monarchy. So go on, elaborate.
With-
What is scrapping the monarchy going
with
to do for this
tourism,
country?
I don't believe they don't really see the king, do they? They just come to see the fancy buildings, all the nice stuff.
all
They
the
can
red
still
guards march
all the red
along.
guards. Yeah, this can all still be there.
No,
ceremony-
the Red Guards. Their job is to protect the king with their
But
lives. If there's no king, there's no Red Guards.
What are we calling them? Red Guards, okay?
It's the King's Guard.
Probably.
It's in the
Adam,
name, the King's Guard. If there's no king, there's no guard.
The thing is, if we get rid of all of the king, we still have to keep all the money for the funding of the palaces, the staff.
So
But
we
the
sell
king
them.
doesn't do much anyway. So what would be the point in that?
It's just a
to be
tiny thing
honest?
in the country. I mean, this is the last thing that we have of, say, the empire in the colonial days. I mean, why let it go when it's such a small amount of money that we give to it? I mean, it's what, 60 million a year or something. It's not much.
We make back loads of that through tourism
Makes so
travel.
much. Yeah. Right. Thank
The
you very
end.
much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
This episode is sponsored by Montrose Health Group.
They offer personalised ADHD and mental health assessments, both in person and online.
If you're looking for trusted care, visit them at montrosehealthgroup.com to book today.